Hola, Sugar.
How are you?
I am good. I'm excited to have you here with me.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm excited. We met last year, I think.
I think it was the year before.
The year before, so it was 2022.
Yeah, I think, isn't it?
I feel
I feel
like
it was the year before.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right. Because this last year I didn't go to
Me neither.
the event.
Yeah, well, okay. This year I went, but the previous year I didn't. But the one before that I was actually at the show. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that. I've been here all the times, but I didn't go. So
okay. Where do you live?
New York.
Okay. Kind of.
Kind of.
Are you a vagrant?
I guess New York and Dominican Republic.
Oh, okay, got it. Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
How about you?
In the DC, Maryland area. So I'm from New York, though, so I'm very familiar with the lay of the land up there.
Yeah. What part?
I grew up in the Bronx.
Okay, great. You know, I was born in New York, but I wasn't really raised there. I was more raised in Dominican Republic.
Okay.
So, but if I calculate, I've lived half my life in the U.S., half my life in Dominican Republic.
Oh, good. Okay, so you're nice and well-rounded.
Yeah. A little bit. It makes me not feel from the U.S. nor Dominican Republic. So it's like not from there, not from here, but from both.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I've lived several places, so I can relate. Definitely.
Yeah. I love your office.
Oh, thank you. Oh, it's a little bit of a mess right now, but it's just
beautiful. Is that one of your creations? The one in the wall?
Oh, yes, that is one of my paintings of Harriet Tubman.
Beautiful. I love your logo. What's the story behind the
So it is a Black Panther chasing a star, and that's kind of like how I see myself is chasing my dreams, you know. And obviously the Black Panther is a nod to Black culture and, you know, the civil rights group. So yeah, that's what it means to me.
Beautiful. You know, I'm very curious about your name. Like how do you feel growing up with your name, and then what does it mean for you?
So growing up with it is interesting. Well, I will say that when people hear my name, they have something inappropriate to say. Oh, it's funny. I'm just like, okay, what's your reaction going to be? But sometimes, I mean, I have a good sense of humor. So I will say that it's a unique name. You know, I don't meet a lot of people named Sugar, but it's different. You know, I like different, and I've never shied away from it. So I don't know. It's just a name to me. It's never really stood out as anything unique or different until people start singing creepy songs.
Exactly. But you know, it's like I feel like you embody sugar. Like, you know, sugar has so many like good things. Like for me, that's my caffeine, sugar. So
people going. I definitely get people going.
Yeah.
And I'm not cancerous like actual sugar, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, that is a good thing. And you translate that into your design because you're always reinventing yourself, but also you have, at least in my opinion, you have like a very, like I can see your work and be, oh, that was Sugar. That's Sugar Taylor's work.
That means a lot to me because I feel like I struggle with that as a designer, as an artist. I feel like I don't have that type of visual identity because I really do try to get into my clients' heads and design to their aesthetic. So I go to certain designers' pages and it all looks the same. And I'm like, I want that. So it feels good to hear someone say that they can see that.
Yeah, because there's like a signature. It's for your clients, and obviously the clients shine through it. But behind it, there's like, oh, there's the magic of Sugar Taylor.
That really that means a lot to me. Thank you.
And I think that's why your clients come to you, you know? They see that too, even unconsciously or consciously.
So I'm an artist who does inception on people, basically. You didn't know I was coming, or that you I like it.
Or that I was going to spike your life, like spice your life. So why design? Why design?
Um, because I don't think there's anything else for me personally. When I think about my life and me as a human, I can't really see me doing anything else. Maybe delivering babies, and I know that's random, but like in another life, I might be a cult leader or someone who delivers babies. But yeah, design is kind of like what keeps me going. Um, I just feel like, what would I do if I didn't see art in everything? Like, how would I even view the world if I didn't see art in everything? I can't imagine it.
Going back to babies, you have many babies, different ages.
Yeah, many babies. Let's not
Well, I
oversell
don't
it.
have.
I have 4 children. And I do have 2 beautiful stepchildren, so they are my children as well. So altogether, that is 6. Okay, that's many. Um, but in the house, I have a 2-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 16-year-old, and my 19-year-old is off in college. And then my 2 stepchildren are in their late 20s, so they're grown.
Wow. Well, there obviously not many for you, but for me that don't, I don't have children, so they do seem like many. I did grow up in a big family though, so many
Okay.
siblings, but it's different to have them. I sometimes, I see you make it seem easy, and obviously there are not many for you, so
Well, I will
I can
say,
see.
it has its moments. Sometimes it's
Mm,
overwhelming. And you're scared because you're like, wow, I'm responsible not only for my own future, but for the future of these humans who look up to me, who rely on me for not only physical sustenance but mental sustenance. And crossing that threshold from child to adult is a whole part of parenting that I think is way scarier than when they're toddlers. But I'm grateful for every single life that I have brought into the world, as well as the ones that I've been blessed enough to be called mom by. Um, and I don't see it as a lot. It's my story.
they're part of you.
Yeah.
And that makes sense about you wanting to deliver babies and have a cult. Because you
Okay. Yeah. I will take that as confirmation to do those things.
in this lifetime. So designer, cult leader, delivers babies.
I can see the vision coming to me.
Your life is fulfilled.
Done.
But I have a cousin that delivers babies and home birth.
Oh,
She does
see,
home
that
birth,
sounds
and
so fun. That sounds so fun.
I mean, for me that sounds scary. So it's like I see her work, and
Yeah.
I'm just, but she loves it, so I
Yeah.
understand a
It's
little
one
bit
of
of
those things you have to
passion.
love. I think I would be unable to deal with like the downside of that, like the people who lose children. I'm very sensitive, so I don't think I would ever get to a point in my career where I'm over that or past it or able to just like continue my day after something like that happens. So I think God kept me out of that for a reason.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I want to know about like your design in the way of creating so many things. Like it's not only interiors, but you do branding, but you also do like food and events and right? Like
Well, I don't do food. I eat food.
you don't do food. You eat food. Sorry. Like
Eater.
I meant the word
I
events.
know.
Events.
Yeah. My journey actually started with events. But
Oh.
and it's funny because I always worried about how people would see me when I decided to pivot um or add to my collection of talents. Um but what I've learned is that as I grow and evolve, I'm just like I pick things up. I'm like a snowball. Like it started here, but then I fell in love with this thing, and art is art to me. So as a designer, if there are shapes, colors, textures, anything like that involved in it, then I can do something with that. So I see art as this ever evolving thing that I can just be a part of. I don't see it as I have to do this one thing. We are taught that in business and in life that, oh, you focus on this one thing and that's how you make money. And yes, I did that. I did for 10 years. I was just an event planner and I did branding on the side. But I realized it was not feeding my soul enough just to create in that one space, in that one medium. Um, So, I mean, that's how I view it. I don't see it as separate things. I see it all as just art. And the mastery, the learning is my kink. Like, that's what I love. I love being like, ooh, look at that. I can make that. I can figure that out. You know? And that's not to demean anyone's art or their craft. That's just to say that I feel like if you're an artist, you're an artist. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like the way you design your life around it, it can be art as well, like designing a life
Yeah, you
or
are.
creating it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can put me in an apartment and tell me I only have to be there for a week. I need to make sure it's cute. For that 1 week of my life, it could be my last week. I'm not dying in an ugly apartment. I'm exaggerating, not a week, but you know what I mean.
You, I believe it. I can see the almost the craziness, which is oh my god, I wish I knew another word, but like the passion behind it, like
Yeah,
your drive.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And there was, I can't remember the quote or who said it, which is useless, but there was a famous designer who said something like, I just want everything around me to be beautiful, always, period. And I feel like that's kind of how I have chosen to live my life. Doesn't mean it has to be expensive, but I definitely want to feel like I'm surrounded by beautiful things, beautiful people, you know.
Curator of people as well. I like that. I mean, everything in your environment affects your wellness, even the people you surround yourself.
Mm,
So
primarily the people you surround yourself with.
that is true. That is true. I was thinking about that because today for my branding, I I was having a conversation with a friend, and I think my branding is going to shift just a little bit, a tiny bit, and it all came from that conversation.
Mm,
And that conversation brought me into thinking, wow, connections are so important because sometimes like I'm in my head or think this is perfect, and then someone else comes, but it clicks.
mm,
Many voices, but one just like clicks
mm-hmm,
perfectly.
mm-hmm,
And that brought me to life like wow, connections and talking about the our craft, whatever it is, specifically design in this case and art. Like there's something of it when you are able to work together and communicate in a way of not competition, but of as of collaborating and
mm-hmm.
helping.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that brought me so much joy to feel that collaboration and that also like almost like a giving, like a natural giving.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's funny. I have a dining series I started based very much on that concept. It's called Samavaya. Samavaya means coming together in Sanskrit. Because I like naming things after Sanskrit as if I understand that language, but it's sexy. Um, so basically, how it works is, let me start with the reason why I came up with the dining concept. It came
Yes,
from a
please.
dream, but the dream came because I was praying about it and I was like meditating at night, and I have this process of praying to God, talking to my ancestors, praying to my spirit guides, like, okay, now put me on the path, you know. And after I left the events industry, I felt like I did not have a thriving community of artists or creatives and business people on different parallels. Everyone I knew was in the events industry. And that was great. I love the people I've met. I mean, I still have lifelong friends from that industry. However, it wasn't feeding my current mission, which was to get more branding with interior design attached to it contracts, which are very hard to come by because it's a unique hybrid of services. And I felt like I didn't know people like different from me in the industry, like, you know, other artists. So basically, I prayed that night, went to sleep, had a dream that I was walking down the street and there was a restaurant, and in the window were four people that all knew me from very different places in my life. And I looked in the window because I'm nosy in my dream. I opened the window and I'm like, hey, how did you guys know each other? And why wasn't I invited to this lunch? Like, I'm coming in. So I get in the restaurant and they're like, oh my God, Sugar, like, we knew that we all knew you, but we didn't know each other. And we felt like we had to get to know each other because you're such a good person to know. So we wanted to get to know each other. And I woke up from that dream and I woke my husband up and I was like, dude, I said, I'm going to do a dining series where I invite people somehow to the table that don't know each other. So I came up with Samavaya, and Samavaya, I invite one person who I think is creative, accomplished, interesting, good conversationalist. and they have to invite somebody that doesn't know me, that they think that highly of as well. So at the end of, you have 12 people at the table at the end of the invitation list, and we get together and we have like these deep conversations. Like I have all these really cool prompts for the conversations, and I mean the connections that have been made, I'm only on my fourth one, and the connections that have been made have been ridiculous. It's been eye-opening, and like you said, just having those conversations with like minds, like so much comes out, so many different connections are made, or people are working together now, or just friends, or one of them had a barbecue and like 8 of us showed up and we were like, table 3, so it's beautiful. I'm loving it.
Yeah. I remember when I was walking the showroom and I saw you from afar, and I'm having the same feeling now where I just look at you and you're like shining. You know,
Oh,
you have this attractiveness to
it's
you.
the window, babe.
And it's a window.
It's the window.
Of course. But I can imagine those gatherings. People are just attracted, and you're calling them forth to meet other people like you. And people would be running. I would be running and
Oh, you're
knocking on
so
your door.
sweet.
Okay, let me see. I want to meet your
You're so sweet.
community.
And I don't even have any control over the guest list, really. I mean, there are always a
Yeah.
few seats where I have to pull in people, but I have such a list to pull from people who've seen me post about the event, and then they submit their business, and they're like, I want to be invited to this. And by through that, I'm finding them online, and I'm like, oh, you do seem really cool. I'm gonna put you on the list. So I think it's just kismet, and whoever's meant to be there like ends up in the room. Like my last one of the guys, very very successful food business owner, he was like, oh, I wasn't even going to come to this because I was like, oh my god, I have to pay $180 to like go sit down with some people I don't know, like I'm invited to this type of stuff for free, blah blah blah. He was like, but oh my god, I'm so glad I came. He was like, it was just like mind-blowing. He was like, I'm just, I needed that, and I didn't know I needed it. And I was like, that's
Yeah,
all I wanted to hear.
exactly.
So
What a feedback.
yeah,
It's like they're feeding back to you that you're in the path and you listened
that it
to your
works. Yeah,
dream. Yeah,
I do.
you listened. You listen, and so it's like they're adding the feedback, telling you, thank you for doing this, thank you for following your intuition, your gut,
Yeah,
your visions.
yeah, it's awesome.
I it makes sense. You're reminding me of a architect I met in Dominican Republic through a friend.
Uh-huh.
And when he sat down, he's a very busy architect and he has a big firm there. And he sits down and he's like, I came because of your friends. I follow energy. That is my new mission. She has amazing energy and she wanted me to meet you. And I'm here sitting down with you. You know, like that energy, that like almost like a hunger in a
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
Like like he knew something was gonna happen. Like there was gonna be an exchange of connection, but also I know he received some things. I received a lot from him
Mm-hmm.
just by sitting there and drinking coffee.
It's got to be a give and a take, for it to feel like
Mm.
fulfilling at all. If you're just
Yeah.
pouring into someone, you just feel drained. And if someone's just
Mhm.
pouring into you, they're probably feeling drained. But when it's like a
Yeah.
reciprocal energy, like I just feel like that's when things flow the best.
Yeah. And I also noticed that is sometimes you give, and the other person doesn't have room to receive. So
Mm,
it's basically what you're giving them, it's really just hurting them.
mm. Or making them feel drowned because they can't even process the information, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
But that, I
So
think,
some
if you're an energy worker, if you're a light worker, you sense those
Mhm.
moments, you sense those people, and you pull back a little bit so that they're more able to digest you. You know,
Mhm.
I feel like if you run around blindly pouring out your energy on people, you're moving on ego, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, I agree. Talking about energy work, I mean, you've given some of your structures and ideas of how you receive inspiration for your design or your business. And I was wondering the same way because I saw one of you also have tarot cards.
Mm.
Was that part of an inspiration that happened? What's the journey
Okay.
behind that?
That it leads back to earlier in our conversation where I was like, oh man, I feel like I don't have like a vibe, like I don't have like an aesthetic, like my kids say, my aesthetic. I don't have that. Okay. in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like I was chasing and having an aesthetic. So I was sitting down sketching, and I was like, oh, what I need is like my own art collection. I need an art collection of some type to say that this is a Sugar Taylor style. And around this time, it was the beginning of the pandemic. So I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to dive into doing some art because I'm like, I'm stuck at home. Like, I need time to be creative, and this is going to be my thing. So that's how it kind of started. And that was like art collection, like what things would be. And I was like, I could do my own tarot cards. I could do, because I have to create 78 pieces of art to convey different meanings. So it was just a way to try to see what it felt like to get an art collection going, if that makes sense. So that's
Mhm.
where the tarot cards came. It was literally a passion project. I was just like, oh, I need to create my thing. And then when I was done, I was like, this is actually a really dope tarot deck. I need to see how to print this. So then I went into printing and production. And that's when you met me at the show. I picked up 15 stockists. So like 15 different suppliers now sell it. And yeah, it's going well. It was a passion project, but it was very meaningful to me as an artist.
And now it's meaningful for other people as well.
Yeah, the
So you're
feedback,
spreading that love.
the feedback has been amazing. There was this one lady who does, that's what she does. It's like tarot card reviews. And she said, this is now the deck that I pull from every day. And I was like, my deck. I was like, I'm not even in this world. Like, this means so much to me. So
Wow,
yeah.
you're not even in that. That's incredible. I like that. How you're saying you're not even in that world, and then you create something for that world, and it's just
And it speaks to
spreading.
people yeah, I mean, I read tarot, but like very
Yeah.
sparingly. And it was all just like for fun in high school, you know? I didn't
Hmm.
have like I'm reading my tarot cards every day. I'm consulting them for answers. You know, I pray and I speak to my spirit guides and my ancestors, and that's how I get most of my answers. They're not coming from my tarot cards, but they can confirm and affirm so much of what's going on. So when I'm in a particularly lost space, then sometimes I'll pull my tarot cards out.
Beautiful. Now I want a reading from you.
Do you?
That's good, Jobis. Okay, so I don't know. I keep going back to baby because it's almost like your work or your passions are almost like you're birthing them. They're coming from love and inspiration, and then you bring this into the world. Anything else apart from tarot that are birth like
Like things
you
that
want
I'm
to talk
working on
about?
or so
Yeah.
I mean, I started a and this is I guess where we start tying in the AI thing. I kind of see this trend coming where like a lot of what I do in terms of branding is going to be available through AI technology, like at the click of a fingertip within the next like 3 to 5 years. It's in its infancy right now, and it's already kind of scary. Um, it's exciting. I'm not scared of it. I'm excited by it. I mean, I love growth and technology. I mean, people will now have more time to actually live their lives than, working so much. But we have to diversify our income, That means we have to like have different streams of income. So me and my daughters started a retail brand called When in Rome, and that's ROAM. And we have a 14-foot box truck where we're going to be loading our products and going to different festivals and stuff like that and private shopping events and sell our goods. So through that channel, I want to design my own like textiles and stuff like that. Like I already started doing the custom rugs and home goods and stuff like that. So I just want to expand that more. Um, because I would like to one day be like a Jonathan Adler, where it's like, oh, this particular line is definitely designed by Sugar Taylor, and you can get rugs and home goods and all that stuff. So that's like my dream, um, like the evolution of my design life. So that's what I'm birthing right now and working on creatively.
It's incredible how your designs go back to something physical and community based. First, with the events you're creating where you connect, entrepreneurs or people that you admire in the industry or in business. And then now you're creating a whole thing with your family where you're going to basically road trip and, and then go to fairs and share more of this love. So it's almost like, going back to community.
Yeah, it is. It's true. I love people, love connecting people. I've been selling really well online for someone who's not doing enough digital marketing at all. I'm trying to learn that. And that to me is like the technical, boring stuff that I don't want to be bothered with. So it's kind of like a
Mhm.
slow curve. But I feel like you should understand that if you're going to be an e-commerce owner, right? You don't want to just completely rely on other people to do it for you. Um, just in case I need to double check someone's work, I need to make sure you know what you're doing, but I need to know what you're doing. You know?
Mhm.
So I think that, I think I'm always going to do something community, people facing. I thought maybe I wanted out of that for a while after doing weddings because it was a too personal thing. You're all up in
Mhm.
someone's personal business for like over a year planning the biggest day of their life. It's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, and the relationships get entangled and really deep because this is so important to them and it's important to you. Um, so I wanted to detach from that a bit. That's why I was like, I'm leaning into branding and interior design for businesses because it's less emotional. There's no emotion tied to those dollars. It's like, oh, it's on brand and it fits the budget. Let's go. I'm like, those are my favorite words. Let's go. Um, where, weddings and interior design for like homes is a lot more personal. And,
Mhm.
so it feels good to hear you say that because I am a people person at the end of the day, whether I like to
Mhm.
admit it or not.
Mhm. That's interesting because when I actually didn't know you only concentrated on businesses, but it makes sense. The thing is, when you promote your work, at least the way I see it, it almost looks like they're the owner's home. Like even if it's a spa or I don't know, one of your work that opened like maybe last year, and you're touring the place, it feels very like I'm coming home kind of vibe,
Good. That's what
even
you
if it's a
wanted.
business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But then you treat it that way, so it doesn't seem like it's a business. It's almost like an extension.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
I
That's a good thing.
I don't know, Sugar. I feel like like your work, like how you say, "Oh, I went into businesses instead of being so personal." I just feel like
Mission
those
unaccomplished.
are boundaries you put to yourself. I think they're boundaries you put to yourself, but obviously you're bringing that in everything you do. Like, yeah,
Well, that's good. Maybe it's
I
the
don't know. I think
secret
maybe,
pressure.
maybe the what?
And I said maybe it's like a secret pressure I was putting on myself because, like, all right, let's just look at things
Yeah.
in perspective. If I, God forbid,
Okay.
mess up on I order the wrong thing for an interior design for a business, I may have to eat that cost, but there's no emotion. It's like, oh man, okay, just fix it, sugar. However, if someone's wedding is happening and there's something, even if it's out of my control,
Mhm.
that goes wrong, it's like devastation. It was my wedding, like the pressure is doesn't
Yeah.
equate. So yeah, I'm still doing something personal. I'm still entrenched with my clients because I do build really personal relationships with everyone. That's why I'm very selective about who to do business with anyway. But I don't have that keeping me up at night is everything perfect fear, you know? So yeah, I don't miss it. It aged me. I'm really only
Yeah.
22. No, I'm
And
kidding. I just look
I
40.
mean, if you tell me you look 22, so that's okay.
Thank you.
And obviously, you feel 22.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. I I understand what you're talking about, having those boundaries. And one of the ways, at least for me, with my clients, that I've noticed that to create those boundaries, because again, I was in a way overgiving in my designs because a lot of them are personal. Even if when I was designing like for bigger clients through a business, where I used to work was like movie theaters and traveling the world and meeting my
So
clients
fun.
and like places like Vegas,
Yeah.
to research and select materials and all of that. And even in those moments, I was very personal,
Mhm.
right? I was getting to know these clients, and that in a reason why I kind of transitioned into what I do now. But the way I realized, I there was a point that I was like draining myself, right? Because I was giving, 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 and then I realized there was no boundary between me and the client, regardless of the size of the project.
Yeah.
And so, well, how do you deal with that, with the boundaries? You talked a little bit now about
But
that, but
honestly, through work processes,
yeah,
like
exactly.
just this is the first step. Here's what we're going to do. Here are the touch points we will have. When I was doing wedding planning and event planning, it was like I would get text messages at 11 o'clock at night. Excuse me. And I would get text messages at around 11 o'clock at night. And I felt like I had to be on all the time. Like, oh, if I don't
Mhm.
respond, they'll feel like I'm ignoring them. And it started affecting my marriage. My husband's like, dude, stop talking to them. It's 9 o'clock. We're watching a movie. And you're like,
Texting your clients.
yeah, there were no boundaries. There were no like, and I felt like, enforcing those boundaries felt rude. Like, oh, please don't text me after 6 p.m. It felt rude, like a rude thing to say to a client, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you let it be known in the beginning, like, hey, so my hours are between this and this. If they don't get a response, then I just reiterate, oh, so sorry. I turned my phone off at 6:30. I didn't even see it. So, it's just kind of like reinforcing my boundaries, but in a kind way. I'm never rude
Yeah.
to anyone. But you have to do it. It's essential because my me time, my after hours time is where I revive myself so that I can be creative for my clients. And if I'm always on, then it affects my creativity and it affects my personal life, which will affect my creativity. And ultimately, that's what they want from you. So those boundaries are essential to my job. And I just let them know
Mhm.
that. And I'm not afraid to say that now. Maybe it's just being a little older. Back in my 20s, I was like timid. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be God. But now I'm like, look, don't hit me up after 7 o'clock. If it can be a text message, do it as a text message. Don't call me. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't, sometimes I communicate in WhatsApp and I mute it. So I mute so it doesn't notify me, right? Or I don't have notifications on my phone that show up
Yeah.
in my screen, in my lock screen. And then sometimes I just mute conversations because first, I mean, I would be attracted if I see like a 1 or 5 on my
Yeah.
icon. Like same with my emails. Like I'll just check in a certain time of the day,
Yeah.
not constantly. And those are the limits I put, not for the clients. At the end of the day, those limits are for, those boundaries are for you,
Mm,
because you're protecting yourself, you're protecting your energy, and now allowing yourself to cross that line,
exactly.
and it doesn't help you nor your client nor the project.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's not being rude, it's just being responsible adult.
Yeah. And it's preserving your ability to create, right? Because if you're stressed about answering everything right then and there, like case in point, I have some clients who constantly feel the need to have phone phone calls or video chats, and I'm like, okay, 12 of those will eat up my whole day, and then what time did I have to design? So I just have like certain times that, like, hey, if we're gonna have a call, it's got to be before 11, because after that I need to focus, because then by 4 I have to go get my kids, and I need at least 4 hours of just designing every day. So yeah, I think just compartmentalizing and keeping things like organized really helps you enforce those boundaries.
Yeah, I agree. And it's true because, for example, there's this woman, Zena. I think her name is Zena. She talks a lot about women in business, and one of the things she says is like, well, her husband taught her this, that you can have 3 days in one day, which is like in the morning is your creativity, in the afternoon is your social life, and then at night is your learning time.
Mm-hmm.
So like she divides her days like that. And then one more thing she adds is like every morning she has 3 routines. So if one routine doesn't work, she goes to the other one or the other one.
Okay.
That way she always has a routine, but has the freedom to pick
Yeah.
which one
Okay.
as a woman.
I like that. That sounds good. Creating like different routine pockets that you can kind of pick and choose from. Because I'm pretty. It's weird. I can be good at routines. Like if I know that there's an end goal, like I can manage it like a project. but because I'm creative, but I'm also kind of A type where like I can be organized. I've had to do it, obviously doing events. But I like to mix things up. I don't like to do the same thing every single day. So I sit at the beginning of the week. I sit down, I look at my task list, I pull everything into my Google Calendar. So I'm like, all right, here are the things that have to be done by the end of the week. Then I'll update all those clients. Hey, I'll have this for you Wednesday, have this for you Tuesday, have this for you Thursday, blah, blah, blah. That's my workload. Outside of those hours, I may want to take a walk. I may want to go have lunch with one of my friends. And I just kind of like adjust things, just making sure I still meet those goals at the end of the week. And that's kind of how I, parse out my workload.
Yeah, there's still the organization part behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realized that because for the podcast now, I use Notion to just like organize the tasks,
Mm-hmm.
basically like a CRM
Uh-huh.
kind of way or program. And what I do is like, okay, Wednesdays and Saturdays are for podcasts, and then client meetings are like Monday and Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the in between, like for my business, are on Tuesdays. Like
Mm-hmm.
kind of like that.
Yeah.
It is true. Sometimes they have to blend in, but having that clarity has like makes me feel more at peace.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that.
I have this. Yeah, I don't know. This podcast has created like something beyond, like adding something more to do.
Yeah.
That had to make me be more organized.
Mm-hmm.
Like another thing. Like right now is your family, right? Your husband. Like he's like, for me, it's like right now it's a podcast
Yeah.
that has
Hey, whatever it takes, get it done.
whatever it takes, yeah, to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to know more about like how you're gonna start working with your daughter and that project.
Um, well, it's tough right now, right? The 9-year-old is still little, but she came with me to like a trade show, and she was like, "I like this, and I like that, and I'm like, that's right, boo." So it's like, I was thinking about adding inventory that speaks more to her demographic for like kids and stuff. We'll see how that goes. And let her curate stuff. The 16-year-old is like a very serious volleyball player, so in like her role, she will like fulfill orders. So like at the end of the day, she'll come home and be like, I'll say like, "Hey, we got 5 orders online today," and then she'll pack them up and get them ready for me to ship out. So everybody's doing something. My 19-year-old, I'm giving her a little grace right now because she was moving to New York and figuring out the college thing and everything like that. So I didn't want to like hound her, but she's about to start diving into the digital side of everything, and doing like some social posts because we haven't been posting on social like we're supposed to. So I want them to see that those things are their jobs, those things are their roles, and having them execute them. And it's tough because it's your kids, so they're not going to take you as seriously as if they were working somewhere else. Sometimes I have to like, you want, oh, did you just cash app request me for $50? Did you do $50 worth of work? so So we have those conversations, but they're actually really responsible kids, and I'm lucky. Yeah.
Because these things they're not taught in school, not really.
Right.
So these are skills that they're going to use for life, like real life experiences.
Absolutely.
And that happened to me a little bit with my dad, where on weekends I would work with him or for his company. So I would have to go. And then eventually I even locked up or opened the business. But the thing is the interaction with people, the trust, then counting the money at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, like all of these math and having even to use the paper, like even doing the counting, that helped me a lot, even with my head. If we go to that part, but also being responsible for other people in the business, the clients, the people that arrived, and also the employees. But seeing the back end of how everything works, the accounting, how do you organize the money, when do you deposit the money, all of this, when I was, in my early teens, I have this too. I still use those methods that I used before. with more technology now, obviously, compared to all those years ago, but they never leave you. So you're doing amazing doing that to
Thank
your
you.
kids. At least, yeah, at least they were valuable. And you know what else? I also had money. So I had a monthly income
Yeah.
by, I would do it. I would do it because of for my dad or whatever. And but no, that came with and I didn't really expend that money. So when I opened my first bank account with my money,
Hmm.
because my mom opened one a long time ago that we would go like every week and save a little bit, but this one was like, I remember when I went with this cash load
Yeah.
of money.
Hmm.
Even the bank was like, like the Taylor that
Yeah.
was opening the account, she was like, wow. And I was like, yeah. And that
It motivates you.
that yeah, and that actually those savings, I was able to use it during college to
Yeah.
sustain me a little bit, just the certain things,
Yeah.
just because I had that, backup that I worked through school,
That's awesome.
high school.
Yeah, I'm trying to get them. I'm trying
So
to get them on the same path and understanding how things work, because they talk about wanting to be entrepreneurs. Well, at least my 19-year-old does. So I'm like, I just need you to understand it's not all like that you see on Instagram. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and if you don't work it, then you don't see the benefits or the results. So I'm just careful about how I approach that with them.
yeah, and I think it's very important, and mainly now that she's, independent in New York City without you.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a different life.
Yeah,
It's a
it
different
is.
life. And how, yeah,
Yeah.
you're giving them the power to be able to sustain herself, not only economically, but in other ways. Like to, I have this job responsibility that I decided to be part of
Hmm.
because you're not, she's the one that wanted to be part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I don't force
So
them to do anything at all. Yeah.
yeah. And you're just showing them, okay, to get where I am, this is the level of efficiency you need
Hmm.
to accomplish.
Absolutely.
So that means you'll be in New York more often. I would love to see you.
Yeah, I'll let you know when I come up. She's
Yeah.
staying in the Long Island area, but I go up there every now and then because I have a brother that I found after 20 years. Um, so I'm obsessed with him and everything he does. And he just had a baby, so I'm like, as soon as I get a chance, as soon as they clear and like they're ready for visitors, I'm gonna be at the door. So yeah, I'm
Wow.
excited about everything. And
How was that? How did you find them? If you want to
um,
talk about it.
that
This is so-
yeah, that is a whew, let me truncate the story. So my mother had to give up two sons for adoption when I didn't really grow up with her, but when she was, homeless. And these two boys got adopted by the same person, and that's all we knew. Our family did have contact in the beginning, but somehow lost contact. We will not talk about that. It still angers me. And over the years, when I turned 18, I officially like started looking for them because I was like, I'm old enough now. Didn't know what I was doing. But in my early 20s, I started really actively looking for them, like paying Omnitrace. And there was like a reality show I submitted, and they wanted to put me on it. They were like, we really need to find your brothers to have you on the show, and we cannot find them. And I was like, ah. Did the adoption registry, everything you can think of to try to find them. Then I had to wait for them to turn 21 to see if they popped up on a credit registry. Like, I just did everything I could. And then one day, and I throughout the years had shared it on Facebook and social, like, hey, I'm looking for my brothers. I only had one picture of my brother when he was maybe a year old in my mother's arms. Like she was visiting him, or I don't know if that's the day she gave him back to the lady for good. Um, and I kept reposting it. So someone hit me up and she was like, hey, do you mind if I share this? You put this up last year that you were looking for your brothers. Did you find them? And I was like, no, please share it again. So she shared it. And that night, like I went to sleep and I was praying and I was like, mommy, please, please, please. Like if there's nothing, I was praying to my mother's spirit. I was like, if there's anything you can do on this physical plane to help me find them, I know you want me to have my brothers. Like, please put them in my path. And the next day on that thread, it was like, have you tried this Facebook group called Search Angels? So I was like, no, I've tried every other Facebook group. This can't hurt. So I go on there and I post the same story. I'm looking for my brothers, blah, blah, blah. Here's the one picture I have. And 3 hours later, there's this guy in my inbox. He's anonymous, fake picture and everything. He's like, I can't tell you who I am, but I found your brothers. This has to be him. He sent me a picture of him when he was like 8. And meanwhile, the only picture I ever had of him when he was an infant. So I was like, that looks like that's what that infant would have grown up to look like. So I get hype and I'm like, that might be him. That might be him. And he gave me a PDF with all his contact information. And I was like, how did you find this? And he like deleted me, like, stop asking questions. I was like, okay, I'll take it. Took the PDF and I called the number and it was my brother. So he grew up in Brooklyn and he's just such an awesome person. Like, such an awesome person. Like, he's like my mother's spirit made manifest. She was the nicest, most like interesting person you would ever meet. And he is, out of all of us, he is like the closest to her spirit. And it's just like, that's why she wanted me to find him. Because she was like, yeah, look at this. So I'm like, yeah, I think about him every day. I talk to him all the time. My siblings are equally obsessed. And it's brought us back together and closer, me and my siblings, I feel like we're FaceTiming. Like, we never did that before finding him, you know? So it just feels so good. It's like, I needed that. So yeah.
What a gift.
And he just had his first baby yesterday.
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 Congratulations, Auntie.
I was like, oh God, this is about to be the most spoiled child that was ever born in our family. Are you kidding? Like, it's about to be rotten.
Wow, Taylor, this is so much about you. You know, like this persistence you have when you feel the hunch, you feel it, and you don't stop. And yeah, like you say, your spirit mama sent you an angel
Yeah, I
to
really
find
feel
your
like it.
brother.
She was like, yeah, I want my kids together. And I prayed about it. And that lady just randomly asking me, can I reshare this? Like, what are the odds and why at that time did she ask?
Exactly.
For me to find him the next day was, I mean, my head exploded. My head exploded. It was crazy.
And you know, going back to community and like technology, like using Facebook and using the community there,
Hmm.
you found your brother through technology, through, you know, AI.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. The online world. How about like how do people find you? Like how do you find your clients? What is the funnel you use?
I need a new
Um,
funnel. The funnel runneth dry. No.
I don't know.
Honestly, 99% of my clients are referrals. Just referrals. Just,
Yeah.
oh, I knew somebody who worked with you, or, I found you on social media. Like, that's typically how I get clients. I am not good at like doing the whole dropping ads and all that stuff. Like, I never really did that. And it was weird because the transition from like doing events and working in that world, I never had to like look for business. I would post, people would like it, people would reach out, and we were always booked. Didn't have to worry about it. And then when I transitioned out of events, I kind of was spoiled by that. I was like, oh, people will come. People did not know what I do. They all saw me as, which was my worst nightmare. They all saw me as a wedding designer. And I was like, I'm so much more than that as a creator. So I had to like kind of reestablish myself, and it's slower, but it's more impactful, if that makes sense. Like, it's usually referrals though. That's how I pretty much roll. Um, I think what we do is a little harder to advertise for, so to speak. Like, I don't I don't necessarily want to put out an ad about doing branding and interior design. Like, I can do your branding and your interior design. I probably should, you know. However, I'm selective about who I work with anyway. And my method of like getting new clients, like if I was to ever enact some type of marketing idea, I have plenty, but do I enact them now? Would be maybe to approach like commercial real estate people. Like, hey, as you're putting people in this space, like, do they need a rebrand, and can I do the interior work for you? Would probably be how I need to go about marketing myself.
Yeah. There's so many ways to market yourself, right?
Yeah.
But it feels almost unapproachable. At least for me, it feels a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, because I was thinking last year, all my business is the same,
Mhm.
referral. But I also realized that I wasn't like, even the closest people around me didn't really know what I did.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Like some people I would meet, they're like, "Oh, I heard you're an architect." Like from someone completely different, like not even from me.
Yeah.
And I realized like, oh, I need to share more. I
Mhm.
need to share more what I do. I need to own it
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
and be brave enough to, to talk about it.
Yes.
Because then I wouldn't see the need, I
Hmm.
wouldn't see the need to promote because people were coming to me. But then I realized, but if I want to have a bigger impact on what I do,
Hmm.
I need to share it.
Yeah.
I need to share.
Yeah.
I think you're good at it. I think you share a lot, and in your community, online community,
Thank you.
are engaged with you,
I,
or what do you think?
it's weird though. My engagement used to be fantastic. Like I would drop, and I'm not counting likes or comments or anything like that, but I'm just saying like
Yeah.
it used to be way better. And I feel like the algorithm changed somewhere along the line. And now it's like if I get 150 likes, that's something. And I'm like, what? I'm used to like 500, 600, 900 likes and views and stuff like that. And I'm not getting that. So it made me not want to post anymore. It was like, no one's even saying it. What's the point? um,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I do want to get back into more consistent posting, but I'm more like I like posting things that have like impact that mean something, and that doesn't happen every day. And I could easily regurgitate some more old stuff I've done or whatever. It just doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't bring me joy. It doesn't spark joy to do that. So I may post like a little less frequently, but when I post, it's like, okay, I really just want people to see this. And I know that so some social media manager might hear that and their butthole is gonna get real tight. Like, no, you need to post every day. Advice. I'm not giving anyone advice. I'm just saying what works for me
Exactly.
is to be
Yeah.
genuine and when I feel like I need to post. I'm not gonna be posting a bunch of
Mhm.
selfies and pictures of me over and over again. Like I can't do that. I feel so egotistical and baseless doing that. So it's a constant struggle. Social media is still a point of stress for me. So it's just like, you know.
Mhm.
But I definitely
Mhm.
feel like I need to do more to market myself, and that's part of the reason I did the Samavaya dining series is because like I'm in the room with 12 people at a time where I can have genuine, deep, real conversation. They're gonna learn what I do at the beginning. I'm gonna learn what they do. And then because we're connecting on a deeper level, I'm gonna pop up in their mind if they come across something where it's like, oh, I need a brand sugar, you know? And that's to me, that's marketing. That's enough marketing for me. And it's already proven itself. At least two people have reached out to me from that dining series to do larger projects. So I'm like, yeah, it's working. And this is my form of marketing. I'm comfortable here.
Mhm. That is so beautiful. Um, I read this book recently. It's called "This Is Marketing" by Seth
I
Godin.
love him. Yeah, he's good.
Right?
Mm.
He talks a lot about that, about marketing from a place of authenticity and not really listening to what's out there,
Mhm.
but more of finding that way where you shine as a marketer. He
Mm.
gives a bunch of details, but that was impressive. That was, I think you're doing what you're doing and it's working for you, and at least that's what it seems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's working. I mean, obviously, I would love people to be busting my doors down and be fully booked every day of the
Mhm.
year. It's like, oh, I can't even
Mhm.
take new clients until 2027. But that's not my reality.
Beautiful.
I'm not gonna front like it is. But I think what I could do is more like speaking engagements, more things like this, like podcasts, where I'm just having a good conversation, and and see how things grow and evolve from there. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that's more like what I'm trying to lean into now. That's why I was excited to get your invitation to be on the podcast because I was like, yes, I was just saying I need to do more of this stuff, and Instagram is just a screenshot of someone's life. And I put it in quotations because it's like, it's curated. It's like, that's what I want you to see. You don't see me in my bonnet running around this house looking crazy. Um, but that's my reality most days.
Yeah.
But like
Mhm.
this, you get to actually engage with me as a human, talk to me about what's important, where I come from, the things I've been through that have formed me into the artist I am. And that someone hearing that might want to work with me more because they're like, oh, she's actually been through something and she values her time on this earth with people and she's going to be a better person to work with, you know? So that's all the marketing I need.
That is true. And your personality shines through, and also your values that also might attract people to that persona. Um, I was thinking about this yesterday. I don't have a specific answer, but I've been thinking about who are my clients, right? Who are they? And if I can put them in a category that it's almost impossible, but if I can put them, then I can be like, oh, this is the type of people I want to work with.
Yep.
Or this is the type of people that would understand my work.
Mm-hmm.
And you also do that, but do you have parameters or is it a gut feeling or how do you come about
Parameters
that?
for, say it again.
For like finding your client or your persona, because you said I don't work with everyone.
Yeah.
So then do you have a checklist that
It's not
helps
even a
you?
checklist. I'm gonna sound really crunchy like granola right now and say, oh my God, it's about the vibes. But it is.
It's about the
I'm a
vibes.
highly
The
intuitive, I'm very intuitive and I can just
yeah.
kind of feel it. That's why I usually request a consultation and I speak with them. And you know, if they when it comes to like branding and interior design, like if they give me red flags right away, like I, I immediately, I'm booked. You know what I mean? Like I've gone through the whole ignoring the red flag, the client that's not a good fit for you, like someone who wants to negotiate my pricing, but still get all of the things that they asked for. Not a good fit for me because I can tell you right now, compared to my competitors, I am very fairly priced. So when I hear, oh, this is too much, then I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like I don't shop at Gucci every week. Okay. It's a special occasion only. So go find your Target designer. Love Target, but I'm not the Target designer. I may not be Gucci yet, but maybe I'm getting there. But you know what I mean? There are levels to everything. And I
There's
don't
level.
negotiate my prices as like I used to. When I was younger in business, it'd be like, oh, I want to meet their price point because I really want this project. And I was undervaluing myself and I was doing the same amount of work, if not more, for that client as I was for the one that was willing to pay my whole price. So that's one red flag. And there are others, but usually it's just I fill it out in the consultation. Like if you're not giving me like energy and vibes, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. I mean, I can't work well with like people with extremely dry personalities who like don't smile or like those people make me feel like I have to overcompensate in the conversation and then I end up just looking like an idiot because I'm like, hi, how are you? Smile. you know I call them the.
Oh
It's
my
gonna be gross. I call them the dry tampon personalities. If you have a dry tampon personality, I can't do it. We'll hate each other.
Exactly,
We'll hate each other.
exactly. Wow. Wow, so many good tips because it's true. It's like it also goes well, in my opinion, it also goes back to you like, look, I cannot work with you. You won't want me as
You
a
won't
you
like me.
know,
You will not like me.
you
I'm
won't
gonna
like me.
annoy you. My little emojis and my text messages and emails are gonna drive you crazy because you don't like.
Yeah, exactly. So you're helping yourself. You're because then you won't be able to be you and show up as you,
And now
of
there were
course.
so many times where, and especially as an event planner, like there were so many times where I was working with clients that I was like, oh, I would never hang out with this person. I would never hang out with this person. Or like they because they were like that, they were more stoic and like toity toity. Um, I just felt like I couldn't connect with them. And I was able to pump out great design work, but I was like counting the days till that contract was over. And I don't like that feeling. I like to enjoy what I want to enjoy my time on this earth. I want to enjoy every day. And I know no, you're not going to enjoy every day, but I'm going to try. And if your, personality, your energy is like bringing me down and I have to work with you for a year of my life, that's this wrinkle right here. I could tell you her name. You know, like I'm not interested. So yeah. It's about protecting your energy.
Yeah, Sugar, you're such a delight. Um, I have so many more questions, mainly about pricing, but like, how do you, how not about specifically how you, but how you came to know your numbers. Because I think as designers, that's one of the things. It's so iffy
Yeah.
out there how to charge your
Mm.
clients and how to make make your clients understand, your
What they're
value
paying.
and why you charge
Yeah.
that.
Um, I will say for the branding, it
Mhm.
took. I have a girlfriend who it's her business called the Emma Rose Agency. I love her, Tiffany. Um, we met in person for the second time at this like business retreat in Palm Springs, and we were all will never forget how I felt this day. It was a terrible feeling, but it opened my eyes. Um, we were talking about because I had just transitioned more into the branding. I was still taking client like event planning clients, but I knew I was going to be making that switch, and I was already doing branding, but it wasn't my bread and butter. And we were talking about our pricing. And when I told her how much I was charging for a full branding package, she was like, I charge X amount. And I was like, people are paying? And she was like, yeah. And Sugar, based on your work, you should be charging that much too. And it was just like eye opening how much I was under charging myself, how much I was undercharging for the work I was doing. And yeah, that's why I was booked and busy because I wasn't charging enough. And then I had to take on 12 clients to make the amount of money I need to sustain my bougie lifestyle. So I was like, okay, no, I need to change something up here. So that was an eye opening conversation for me. Now, when I started doing the interiors, I did research, right? I was very trepid about entering the interior design world because I don't have a degree in interior design. I'm an stylist, right? And I felt insecure in my design because I know I can transform a room. I can research what materials you need. I can hire the professionals. I work with an architect because I have to and I want to. They know what they're doing and they can take better measurements. So I I felt insecure walking into that world because I was like, oh, like how do I say I want to work with you on this design just because I'm a good designer when you've been doing this for 15 years and you have a degree and you're looking at me like, please go away. You're not a real designer. I was afraid of that. Um, Even though I had already done a few commercial spaces, I was still insecure about it. So I didn't know how to approach pricing. And I was definitely, once again, undercharging. But I felt like it was it was okay for me to undercharge because I still needed to prove myself and I still needed to show that I could master that. And I hadn't mastered it yet. I just knew I was a good designer in my head. So that is still evolving. I do charge like a flat rate depending on the project, and then I'll do like a per square foot for others. It really just kind of depends on the project and what I think makes sense for that client. Um, and usually a smaller space is going to get a flat rate, where a larger space is going to be per square foot because there's so much more work that has to go into that. And that's how I charge. But I'm still talking to other interior designers who do commercial and finding out how much they charge, how much they charge, how much they charge, and I'm evolving that part.
Isn't that crazy how there's not like and it's okay not to have it because even doctors have different prices if they're out of network or in network
Mm,
and all of that. So it's not, it's okay to have different pricing, but to have at least a baseline of understanding what's in the market and what people charge, and it doesn't really exist.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's so crazily different across the board, and at the end of the day, when you pay a designer, you're paying them for their IP. You're paying them for the ideas that they can come up with for you. It's not an hourly thing. I mean, some designers do charge hourly, but I've never charged hourly for anything because I'm not sitting around tracking that. I could spend 5 minutes and come up with the dopest logo you've ever seen, or it could take me 2 weeks and I'm like, I need to push my deadline back because I'm stuck. So I don't know how much time I'm going to invest in that. That's not what you're paying me for. So at the end of the day, it boils down to how much is your time worth? And I was having this conversation with a friend of mine recently, and I said, look, I tell my daughters this. I tell them poor people worry about how much they're making an hour. You cannot think like that. You are not exchanging your time, your precious time on this earth in this one life for an hourly rate. So what are you going to do with your life that's going to bring you the type of income where you can enjoy the level of life that you're trying to live? I don't need a $5 million house. If I get one day, yay, kudos to me. I love my home. It's big enough for my family. It's beautiful. I love our community. I'm happy here, right? I want to be able to build a legacy for my children, and I want to do that through multiple streams of income. I don't want to do that by like overcharging for something. I'm not saying people are overcharging, but you know what I mean. I'm not going to say, oh, I have this lifestyle and now I'm just randomly going to charge you $50,000 to do this one branding project. I will maybe get there one day, and that's fine. If I'm working for like Apple, you know, but I love working for small businesses. I love working for like that mom and pop shop that needs a rebrand, and they've been around since 1992, and now they are expanding. They're about to open that next location. They're not going to be able to pay me $300,000 to design their space. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna charge something that's comfortable for me, that I know I can pay my bills, I'm comfortable with. I'm not gonna resent you for the amount of time I'm spending on your project. And I hope that that's a happy place for you too, where you're like, oh, I'm making an investment because she's not cheap, but I'm also not breaking the bank, and I can still build this space out to expand my legacy. And that's my happy place.
So beautiful. It's like, these little things, your values, also the visions you have, those are the things that keep you going as a human and seeing your projects with that value.
Thank you.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Taylor. Anything else you want to share today in this space?
I just, I'm grateful for the time we've spent. People can check out my website and our retail concept, shopwheninrome.com, and they'll be able to follow along on social media and see as things evolve. I don't really need to expound upon things anymore. But I'm grateful for your time, and this was great.
Thank you. I'm grateful for you too. I'm so happy I've met you.
Me too. I like it. I like how we both feed off energy, because we only met for like 2 minutes, right?
I know.
And I was like, I like her.
That's how it is. That's how it is.
That's right. When the vibes are good, the vibes are good. If you're attuned to them, they are good. I've very rarely been wrong about people. Like as a child, I would take an immediate like or dislike to people. And I'm the same way as an adult. It's immediate. I'm not judging anyone based on like what they look like or anything. I'm just like, I feel your energy and I like it or I don't.
That's it. You see animals, they smell each other to kind of feel the vibe.
If I have to evolve to sniffing butts, that might work, Come here.
Let me smell you.
I would have very few friends.
It is what it is. But who knows where we're going to go.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you.
Besitos.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, okay?